this is me, the guy with the mustache, and what happens is now I buy this LLC, this company. So this is my real estate company that I created. Now I own this company, and this company is what owns this property. I don't actually own the property. This company that I own owns the property. The reason that is because now when this tenant comes in and they live in this property, they're living in a property owned by my real estate company, not owned by me. So if something bad were to happen, like let's say this tenant slips and falls and they sue the owner of this property, they're not suing me, they're suing the owner of the property, which is this company, my real estate company. And so if, worst case scenario, they sue my real estate company and they go past insurance or insurance doesn't cover this lawsuit, the most that they can take is not everything I own, it's everything that my real estate company owns. And in this situation, the only thing that my real estate company owns is this property and any other properties that my real estate companies own. So they cannot go after my personal assets. All they can go after is the assets in this real estate company. And so this is kind of like a legal shield that you want to create if you are investing in real estate, because we live in a litigious country. Okay, people can sue you for anything. And so you want to have kind of boundaries to protect your personal assets by using something like an LLC to own your real estate properties, because now you have this barrier between you and these lawsuits, these legal issues, because your properties are not owned by you, they're owned by your company, which is owned by you. Now, quick disclaimer, although I am an attorney, I am not your attorney. So if you have specific legal questions or real estate questions, talk to a professional in your area. Here's the thing, people love suing other people, and you can get sued for anything. Like McDonald's was sued one time because somebody said that they were upset because McDonald's put some cheese on their quarter pounder. Luckily, the judge threw out that case, but this is just the world that we live in. You can be sued for anything. If people think that you have money, or if people know you have money, or if people think you have insurance because insurance companies have money, then you are a target. And so you need to have protections in place to protect your wallets. That means having insurance and using legal shields like I just talked about. That way you can protect your assets, because if you have money, people are going to try to put their hands in your pockets. So back in 2012 or 2013, the tenants called up my property management company saying that there was a little chip in the bathtub. They said it was about 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, and they wanted to see if we could get the bathtub reglazed. So my property management company says, okay, they send out my contractor. He goes to look at the property. He says, you know, the bathtub really has nothing wrong with it. There's a small little chip. If you want, I can reglaze it, but there's really nothing wrong with it. A simple solution would be to just put a little mat down on the floor of the bathtub. But if you want, I can fix this for you. It's going to cost a couple $100. And you might want to put in a handicap pole, just because these tenants are a little bit older and they're a little bit fragile. At this point, things had kind of calmed down with the tenants, and they'd been there for a couple years. So I said, you know what, we're going to have to reglaze this tub anyways. So why don't you just do it right now and install the handicap pole, even though they didn't ask for it, just to kind of be nice. That way we can help them out. So while my contractor's there, he's taking pictures of everything, because my property management company requires the contractor to document everything. So we have pictures of the small little chip. It was like that big. This is tiny little chip in the bottom of the bathtub. And so he has pictures of this, and then we schedule the contractor to go back out and do the repairs. And now my contractor goes back to the property. He knocks on the door to do the repairs. The tenant opens up the door and she says, oh, you know what, let's not do the repairs today. Let's do it a different time because my husband's not feeling very well. She said that they were at a barbecue the last weekend and they were drinking, and her husband had slipped and he fell and he hurt his hip, so she didn't want any disturbances coming in at that time. My contractor says, okay, I wish you would have told me before I actually came here, but that's fine. So he calls back the week after trying to reschedule this. She says, no, don't come back now. We'll do this a later time. He calls back 2 weeks later. She says, no, I don't want to do this yet. He calls back 3 weeks later. She says, no, I don't want to do this yet. The fourth time, my contractor called the tenant. The tenant says, you know what, this chip is really not a big deal. Why don't you just leave it? We don't got to do anything about it. My contractor tells my property management company. My property management company records all these conversations, and they say that's their choice. If they don't want to do the work, that's fine. So then things are fine for a few years. The tenants are not filing really any maintenance issues, and everything is going just smoothly. So that happened back in early 2013. Then in mid 2016, so more than 3 years later, I got this huge packet in the mail saying that I'm being sued, or my real estate company is being sued, because those tenants had slipped and fell at my property, and so they're suing my real estate company. And so I read this, my heart's pounding, because I had never been sued before. I don't know what this was all about. I had forgotten about this whole paint chip thing. And so I called up my property management company and I said, hey, do you have any records of a tenant claiming that they fell in our property? So they're going through the records. They said, no, we don't don't have any records of this. And so now I feel like a criminal because I have no idea what's going on. I'm really nervous. I call up my attorney and I send him these documents and I'm kind of freaking out. And he's like, Jaspreet, first off, you need to calm down. You have insurance, send this to your insurance company. So I forward these documents to my insurance company. The insurance company connects me to an attorney, and the attorney starts reading these documents and he starts laughing because it says that the tenants want $150,000 plus all these fees because they say that the bathtub had caused them to slip and fall and cause injuries because they said the bathtub was too slippery when the water was on. And then they have all these allegations, A through J, talking about how we failed to inspect the property because the bathtub was dangerous. They said that we negligently didn't take care of the bathtub. They said that we didn't correct the conditions. They say that the bathtub was very dangerous. It was very slippery because water makes the bathtub wet, and that we didn't exercise reasonable care, and that we are very negligent. And because of all these things of us not taking care of the bathtub, that we should pay the tenants hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the tenants are claiming that they want hundreds of thousands of dollars to cover some medical bills and to give them emotional damages because apparently this whole process of having a slippery bathtub was traumatizing. This is where it really pays to have a good property management company because their job is to document everything. So our property managers have documents of every single conversation that we had with our tenants, and they show that our property had been licensed with the city. And right before this whole scenario or fiasco happened, the city inspectors came out to the property and said that the property was in great shape. And before we even bought the property, we had our own private property inspector go through the property, and even he said that the property was in great shape, and he said that nothing was wrong with the bathtub. And so now we had 3 inspectors because we had our private property inspector, we had the city inspector before we bought the property, and we had the city inspector come back out right before this whole scenario happened, and all 3 of these inspectors said that the property was in great shape and there was nothing wrong with the bathtub. And if that wasn't enough, we have recorded documentation of the tenants saying that they slipped and fell at their friend's barbecue at their house, which is what caused their injuries. The tenants hired one of those free attorneys that's always advertising on the news and the radio, so they probably thought this was going to be an easy money grab because they can hire one of these free attorneys, they can claim that they fell here instead of over there, and then they can use this as an opportunity to just kind of go after our insurance and get some easy cash. But in order to get to a conclusion, that's a very long process because lots of people have to be interviewed and a lot of documentation has to be found, and so this process takes years. And so this case goes to court. The judge says there's no way I'm looking at this because you don't want me to rule on this decision. Why don't you guys go to mediation, which is an alternative to court where you have our party and the other party working with a third party person, a mediator, who tries to come to a conclusion. The really interesting thing about this was the tenants claimed all these injuries, but they worked very hard with their attorney to make sure that we could not access their medical documents. They did not want us to go to the hospital directly. They did not let us try to get these documents. Why? Probably because they had documents in the hospital showing that they did not slip and fall at our property, that they slipped and fall at another property, and so they didn't want that to go out into the public record. Anyway, so we go to mediation and their attorney is hardballing, saying that we're not going to accept a penny under $150,000. So then my attorney goes up and he gives a very simple 5-point argument. He says, 1, we have documents, recorded documents stating that the tenants did not slip and fall at this property, that they fell somewhere else. 2nd, we have recorded documentation showing that the tenants denied work being done again and again and again, even though we were offering to go above and beyond the repairs that were required. 3rd, we had multiple private inspections happen at this property to make sure that this property was safe to live in, and the city had just come out to the property and they reviewed the entire property, they licensed us, and they said the property was very safe and in great shape, and they looked at the bathtub and said nothing was wrong with it. 4th, a little chip in a bathtub is not going to cause you to slip and fall. And number 5, this one might be a little bit extreme, but bathtubs get slippery when you turn the water on. Anyways, so this goes on and my insurance company agrees to settle the claim for $14,000. Now this might sound high, but you have to understand this is all one big game, because once you get sued, you have to fight the lawsuit. And so now the insurance company is calculating in their mind, okay, we have to pay this attorney $350 an hour to fight this lawsuit. How many hours is it really going to take if mediation doesn't work, where we have to go to court and actually fight this lawsuit and make it go away? That would cost tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if we can just pay a little bit of money, like $14,000, and make this case go away, we will save a whole lot of money in the long run than if we actually fought the case and won the case, because that's going to be a very long and a very expensive process. But on the flip side of things, $14,000 wasn't even enough to cover the attorney's fees, and so the tenants who were suing my real estate company didn't even end up getting a penny, because they didn't make enough money to even cover the cost of doing this lawsuit. So they spent all these hours and all this time trying to create this frivolous lawsuit and ended up not making a penny out of it. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.